Well, we're just going to take the old big dub hat off because the Hornets get some terrible news. And I have to fix my hair. Welcome to a live edition of Locked On Hornets. The Hornets trade for Mark Williams to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, a 2031 first-round pick, and a pick swap. It is off officially, according to ESPN. Jump in the chat. Topo, I can't say it with as much excitement as I typically do on a live edition of Locked On Hornets because this is not an exciting development. On a day that really should be one of the holier days in the sports fandom, Super Bowl Sunday, Hornets fans are having to deal with the news that broke last night. I was in no condition physically, mentally, emotionally to really jump on here last night, so I appreciate everyone's raw feelings. I did chop it up on subtext, join subtext.com/Locked On Hornets. It got pretty dark in there at times. So if you want my immediate dark thoughts, you're going to have to join subtext. But if you want my more measured thoughts, that's what this live channel is for. Shamel Felton saying WTF. Zach saying all because of his left foot injury. Shamel saying this can't be real life. Fonz, why can't we have nice things? To be a Hornets fan is pain, says Element One. Thank you, Michael, Swaggy P, Frank, Fonz, Logan, Zach, Marquise, 111, Nico, Ranger, Zach, New, DGC in the house, Kush, Hallie. Their statement is sad. Yeah, we're going to get to the statement. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can in like the next 20 minutes, and then I've got some buffalo chicken dip to check on, some sausage balls. Going to make some pizzas here for the Super Bowl. Share your Super Bowl food. That's what's going to uplift this chat a little bit because I know it's going to be pretty dark in this chat. So let me know what you're making for the Super Bowl. I'll shout that out too. All right, let's dig in here. Let's go to the report from ESPN. This is by Dave McMenamin with reporting from Shams. The Lakers said Saturday night that their trade with the Charlotte Hornets for Mark Williams was rescinded, with sources telling ESPN's Shams Charania that the 7-foot center failed Los Angeles's physical exam. This is remarkable. This just simply does not happen a lot in the NBA. In fact, I could only find 5 or 6 instances in the last couple of decades where this has occurred. And typically it does occur because of a failed physical. The last instance that I could find was 2016. There was a Pistons trade for Domantas Montelunas and Marcus Thornton. So a little bit lower stakes trade. They failed Montelunas on the physical, but I seem to remember at the time that there were some jokes about them getting the wrong Thornton that they thought, or wrong Marcus, I think. Like there was a name mix-up that I think people were joking that the Pistons had messed up the trade and they just needed a reason. And I think a lot of folks are looking at this and thinking, did the Lakers need a reason to move on from a trade that may not have been in their benefit? To give up a first-round pick, even for a healthy Mark Williams, because of the missed games, because of the back injury, people were looking at this and going, I don't know about this. Is he really the starting center that the Lakers were looking for? And so a lot of people looking at this situation with at least one raised eyebrow. Maybe both eyebrows are raised. But the bottom line is Mark Williams failed LA's physical exam. The physical showed multiple issues, sources said. It was not failed due to his back, however. Now, the injuries that we know about with Mark are thumb, which he seemed to have fully recovered from, and then the foot injury that held him out for a lot of this season, and then the back injury that held him out a lot of last season. So multiple issues here would signal that maybe there's something new that came up, and that would not be unprecedented. There was a trade for Sean Elliott to the Houston Rockets in '94 that popped up a kidney issue that I don't think anyone knew about. Maybe even Sean didn't know about, but once you go through the physical, things pop up. So maybe there was something that came through there because like training staffs are concerned about, okay, you hurt something. Let's take a look at that. Let's figure that out. How do we get you back on the court? How do we manage this injury long-term? But they're not running these guys through physicals every week, examining, making sure that everything's okay. Sometimes stuff pops. And so that seems to be the case here. I don't know how much more information we're going to get about this. Lakers Vice President of Basketball Operations and General Manager Rob Pelinka expressed confidence in the acquisition after the trade deadline past Thursday while acknowledging that a physical would need to occur. Quote, "We fully vetted his health stuff, led by Dr. Chris Jones at UCLA Health and Dr. Leroy Sims on our team, and he's had no surgeries," Pelinka said. So these are just parts of he's still growing into his body. We vetted the injuries he's had, and we're not concerned about those. We'll have a chance to have a physical and continue to do a deep dive and make sure that what we've talked about and seen in the electronic medical records. So we'll have that step in the process of doing a full physical before the trade becomes official. They did that, and then in the full physical, they didn't like what they saw. So I think the medical records are going to be a lot, again, of the things that they knew about, of the back, the foot, the thumb, the injuries that they knew about. No surgeries, so they weren't concerned. But then they get them in for the physical and they take a deeper dive and something pops. So what does this mean for the Charlotte Hornets? In the immediate term, it means they have a little bit of explaining to do, and they've done so already with a statement that I'm going to pull up here. And they've now have to bring Mark Williams back, and they are going to, according to their statement, they're going to put him right back into the starting lineup. Here's the statement. "We are excited to welcome Mark back to our Hornets organization. After the other team aggressively pursued Mark, we made the difficult decision to move him. We have always held great respect for Mark's talent, work ethic, and character. We are thrilled to see him rejoin our roster as a dynamic presence at the starting center position. His return strengthens our team, and we look forward to the impact he will make on and off the court." First of all, everyone pointed to the other team, not saying the Lakers. Was that passive aggressive? What was that? Was that they couldn't, because the deal never became official? They could. I think it was probably passive aggressive. The other team. You know who they are, and they know who they are. But this is interesting. This is an interesting point here. The other team aggressively pursued Mark. The reporting that we had got around the trade was that the Hornets approached the Lakers and said, "Hey, we like Dalton Connect. We hear you need a center. We have a center. How about we do a deal here?" So this would counter that reporting, saying that the Lakers actually aggressively pursued Mark Williams and the Hornets were on the other end. And there's a little bit of sour grapes here, right? Hey, you aggressively pursued this guy. We gave you the medical records, and now you're going to do something that no one wants done. Like the Lakers did. I don't think the Lakers truly wanted to cancel this deal. It's embarrassing. And it's going to blow back on them too with their fan base, because they want to win now. That fan base wants to win now. And they thought they had a center. Like from a Lakers fan base perspective, you got to be thinking like, wait a minute, why did you waste time on a Mark Williams deal that was going to be iffy? Why didn't you just go out and get a center who was either healthy or was going to have a better chance of passing your physical? Because now we have nothing. So I don't think the Lakers really wanted to do this. There's no incentive for the Lakers to have canceled this just out of the blue. And for the Hornets, it's extremely embarrassing to trade a player and then for another team to say, no, that we can't trade that for that player anymore because that player has multiple issues. And so part of this statement to me is you're trying to fight a couple of PR battles, right? You're trying to fight the public PR battle, the public perception of a team that doesn't know what it's doing, that they can't get a trade deal done. You've got to explain that part. And you're also fighting maybe an internal public relations battle amongst this like small group of front office people to make sure that you save face so that when you go to do a deal in the future, someone doesn't come back and say, well, I don't really know. I don't know about that. You don't want to be the team that is trying to knowingly send bad goods. And I don't think that's what the Hornets were doing here, because that's the kind of stuff you do get investigated for. That's the kind of stuff you do lose draft picks for. And there have been instances of that as well. And so I'm going to give Jeff Peterson and this ownership group the benefit of the doubt until I see reporting otherwise, that that's not what was happening here. They seem smarter than that, because you're trying to accumulate draft picks, not lose them. They can't afford to lose draft picks. But you have to fight that internal PR battle. I just hope that the Hornets are ready for that, because you traded with the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most high-profile team in sports, not just in basketball, the most covered team. You've got people at ESPN like Ramona Shelburne dedicated to reporting on the Los Angeles Lakers. Here's what Ramona tweeted. Teams do not like to cancel trades, especially those as significant as the Lakers-Charlotte trade for Mark Williams and Dalton Knecht. But LA gave up a lot to get Williams. They needed to feel confident he'd be healthy enough to be their starting center for the next 5 to 10 years. After a, quote, thorough, unquote, evaluation of his health, they were not. To me, that's the key to sort of unlocking all of this. Because I think a lot of people that are watching this right now or listening to this right now, by the way, thank you. Subscribe to Locked On Hornets. We really appreciate it. Go to lockedondaily.com, subscribe to the newsletter, like the video here, share it, tell a friend, join the Sicko Brigade, join subtext.com/Locked On Hornets, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Okay. To me, the 5 to 10 years piece is the key to this. Because I think a lot of people are going to look at this situation and go, wait a minute, Mark Williams played against the Lakers. They saw him there. He's been playing. He's been on some injury management, but that's, yeah, you have injuries, you recover, you have injury management. We're seeing that across the league. It's not like unique to Mark. And he's been healthy enough to play. So what gives? And I think the Lakers looked at this situation and said, we just gave up a first-round pick, one of our last remaining first-round picks that we were legally able to trade. And we're taking on a player that we have to, in pretty quick fashion, decide whether or not we're going to re-sign this guy or not to a contract. Now we're on the hook. And I think we're going to find out more, but I think a possibility of what could have happened is that they looked at the foot and maybe some other things in the body and went, hey, there's stuff in here that if you're a training staff on the Hornets you're looking at, and maybe you look at and say, well, he can play, and there might be some long-term effects, and we'll deal with those in the offseason, but he can play. And a team like the Lakers looking at that situation and going, no, we don't even want to deal with that, particularly because we're giving up a first-round pick. The Hornets training staff looks at it, they're not giving up anything if Mark goes out there and plays. And I will say this too, like, I think people look at these situations and think that they're black and white, particularly with the medicals, like that you can gather all 30 training staffs together and look at medicals and everybody comes to the same conclusion. That's not how medicine works. Like if you get 2 doctors in a room and you throw up an x-ray and there's a broken bone, both of them are going to say broken bone. Like there are some clear things, but when you're talking about strains and when you're talking about tears and particularly when you're talking about recoveries from those injuries where scar tissue builds up, I'm not a doctor, but I know that medicine is not as simple as that. That there are interpretations that can be made by 2 different people, 2 different medical professionals. They can look at a situation and one person think, this guy is going to be fine for the next 5 to 10 years. And another medical professional look at that and say, yeah, I have serious questions, particularly if you're giving up a first-round pick. So do I think there was some grand conspiracy here to embarrass the Hornets or for the Lakers to wiggle their way out of the trade because they got some negative reaction? I thought the Lakers' reaction from the fan base was somewhat positive, that they felt like they looked at the Mark Williams situation with like rose-colored glasses, and they were looking at it like, yeah, he hasn't played a lot of games, but they're confident in the medicals, and look at this guy's size. I mean, he's going to do things for us. We want to win now. All right, let me check in with the chat because I know, oh my gosh, yeah, you guys are on it. All right, I'm going to thank some people. All right, H8 Davis saying wings and pizza for the Super Bowl. Love it. Classic maneuver there. I actually didn't go wings. I went sausage balls, buffalo chicken dip. I'm making Chicago-style thin crust tavern pizza. Look that up. It's great. Yeah, no wings. A lot of veggie tray sort of action, a lot of snacks, and a few other things. All right, let me know what you're making for the Super Bowl too. All right, YGK Blazian. That's the best I can do there. Do you think Mark comes back with a chip on his shoulder, or do you think we sit him? Well, the statement from the Hornets says starting center, and that was a carefully manufactured, manicured statement. And by the way, that statement is from Mark too, because now you've got this awkward situation where Mark has to come back into the locker room. Mark has to deal with the front office. Mark has to deal with the coaching staff. He thought he was going to be a Laker. He was tweeting Purple Heart, Gold Heart. Awkward. Okay, now he's got to be a Hornet again. And so part of that statement is for him and his people. So I think they're going to start him. What does that mean for the Nurkic? Because by the way, they went and traded the Phoenix Suns for a center because they thought they didn't have a center anymore. And that center in Nurkic is making $18 million next season. That's what makes this a disaster. Oh man. Okay. So what do I think happens? I think he starts because they said he was going to. That'd be very weird if he did not. I think maybe Musa gets some more time at 4 and splits time between 4 and 5. I think they do play Nurkic, but I don't know. I mean, this is so rare, and everything that they do from here on out will be just sort of like, I don't really know how they're going to approach this. This is going to be a tough test for a young front office. You know, I think we talk a lot about the youth, the creativity that the Hornets brought in Jeff Peterson. But there is a little bit of element of like a little bit of an experience element to this as well. He's experiencing this and how to handle this for the first time. All right, Amber saying, how much does it matter with who called first? Also, spicy chicken tenders with ranch today for the game. Great choice, spicy chicken tenders. Now, where are those spicy chicken tenders coming from? Are you making those scratch? Are you buy? And no judgment either way, because I think there's some great chicken that can be bought. I always say best fried chicken comes from a gas station. I know, sounds crazy. Best fried chicken I ever had, gas station. So no judgment there, just want to know. How much does it matter who called first? Narratives matter a lot. And again, I think there's a PR battle here going on two fronts. You've got the external one to explain to fans, here's what happened and here's why it's not our fault. Because if the Lakers pursued Mark aggressively, if that's reality, and then they rescinded the trade, then the Lakers look foolish. But if the Hornets ran really fast to them and said, hey, by the way, we got this Mark guy and you've got Dalton, let's make this deal happen, then they look sketchy. So both of these teams are going to try to frame things. And unfortunately for the Hornets, they don't have someone at ESPN that like covers the Hornets and will put their side of the narrative out. It's going to be tough for them to battle that. And then there's the internal one between the rest of the front offices. I think it's an overreaction to think that this like ruins the Hornets' ability to make trades in the future. I don't think that that's the case. But this story is developing. Information is going to come out over the next couple of days that will paint a better picture for us. Chris says, big picture doesn't change the broader good business the team did at the deadline, in my opinion. Head up, everyone. The Hornets made an effort here to go out and acquire a first-round pick, and the Lakers decided to rescind the trade. You know, again, unless we get information that the Hornets were hiding medicals or... and the Lakers would be the team to take that up with the league and say, hey, we feel like feel like something bad happened here and we'd like you to look into it. I don't think the NBA is going to, again, this has happened before. Teams fail guys on physicals. It doesn't mean that the Hornets did something bad. Chris saying, don't let the Lakers and clutch propaganda get you down. It's look, man, I'm telling you, my very first thought on this when it happened, because I'm covering the NBA now and it has opened my eyes to so many different things that happen within the structure of the league, my first thought wasn't, the Hornets lost a first round pick or, oh man, whatever. It was, I hope they're ready for the PR battle that's about to happen, because the Lakers also have to explain this to their fan base and the rest of the league. And so, I don't know, maybe we'll get some inside info from Rod Boone, somebody that's plugged in. But everybody's going to try to tell their story. And you as a fan have to decide what you feel like is the most likely thing that actually happened. Because just like producer Katie gets upset at like TV dramas that involve doctors and real situations with doctors where they can't give you a definitive answer. They say, well, it could be this, it could be that. There's a 70% chance that this could happen or da-da-da. People love definition. They love clarity. They don't like, well, and medicine is, well, and PR and narrative is, well. It's not clear. You can make it clear. You can decide if a PR narrative comes out that you like, you can glom onto it. If a doctor tells you something that you like, you can glom onto that and you can not listen to the other stuff. Yeah, but this stuff is like, it's amorphous. It's not a definite thing. Vapor Fox 25, Doug, look up some of Seth Greenberg's comments about Mark's injury history and how he had to apologize for it. Okay, I will. Logan, y'all tried to trade a player who is that screwed up. We don't know what they found. I mean, unless they release it, we don't know what they found. But I was honest on the podcast and when I went on Locked On Lakers that his body looks different. When it plays, it looks different than when pre-injury, pre-back and foot. He looks slower. He looks slower to respond. And maybe they, am I putting it out of the realm of possibility that the Lakers took a look at the tape and they said, hey, maybe we should watch a few Hornets games. I mean, if this proves anything, nobody watches the Hornets. Nobody watches Locked On Hornets. We've been talking about this stuff for weeks. Maybe they did take a second look and then they looked at their physical and said, okay, not looking good. And that's the worst part of this is the 5 to 10 years thing from Ramona Shelburne. Because if it's true, then the Hornets, first of all, like the trade value goes to its lowest level ever. You can't trade him now, but in this upcoming offseason, unloading him for a first round pick is now impossible. Now the Hornets have to decide whether or not they're going to extend him and for how much. And then you look at it on a human level, Mark Williams, a guy that's desperate not to be the injured guy. He said that explicitly to media. I don't want to be the player that has a reputation for being injured. That's out the window now. When you're associated with a story like this, that's going to be the story. And the question will be, how does Mark respond to that? What does that do? If he didn't want to be that and now he is that, that's a tough thing to overcome, to be labeled, to overcome labels. And guys get labeled for a lot of different reasons. Injured player, ball hog, can't play defense, can't play offense, can't shoot. Some guys respond to that and say, oh yeah, I'll prove it. I'll prove I'm not that. I'll do everything possible. And some people respond to that and that always sits in the back of their head. It affects their confidence and affects their ability to function in a way that would prove it wrong. Let's continue to look at this chat. I mean, a lot here, so I'm obviously not going to get to everyone, but we'll hang out for a few more minutes here. Eric saying the Lakers should be fined for their incompetence. None of this should be a surprise if they were just adequate at their jobs. I'm an honest broker on here, right? I really try to be. I try to be honest about what I think about the Hornets, about other teams. And so I'm going to be honest here and say that the Lakers did their job. They looked at the medicals, and he was careful to say, Rob Pelinka was careful to say, hey, we got to take a deeper look. And if you're going to give up a first-round pick, take the deep look. And if you have questions about it, it's a hard decision to rescind a trade because you've got to explain it to your fan base. And I'll say this too, if the Hornets were on the other end of this and they made a trade for a guy with questionable injury history, I would want the Hornets to do every due diligence on that player before signing. Now, where the incompetence may have an argument here is that this deal got done so close to the deadline that there's no amending it. There's no change. Because if it had happened a week prior, the two teams could have gotten together. Maybe Mark still gets dealt for Dalton Connect, but there's no first round pick. That'd be a bummer, but at least you get a shooter back. And they get somebody that they can play now and that they don't have to re-sign, but they don't lose a pick. Maybe you keep the pick swap. Or maybe the first rounder turns into 2 seconds. I don't know. But they didn't have that chance because the deal got done so close to the deadline. That's why if you have a deal that you want to get done, you got to get that work done early. Get your homework in early. So you have a chance to make some edits if you get that opportunity. So that's where the incompetence could be, is that the Lakers waited so long to address an obvious need. They could have made a move, not just for Mark Williams, but for anyone weeks ago. Everybody knew they needed a center. And it wasn't as they were like distracted by the Luka thing. The Luka thing landed on their desk. I don't know what the Lakers were doing. I'll tell you what the Lakers were doing. They were hoping the Luka thing messed everything up because in a sense, it obviously improved the Lakers for the next 10 years, but the Lakers were heading, I think, towards some kind of modified rebuild. And then Luka got traded and they said, okay, sound the alarm. We got to go find a center. Let's see. Adam, the Hornets should be fined for this. Fined for what? There's no evidence they hid any kind of medicals. Until that happens, they shouldn't be fined for anything. What are you talking about? Show me some evidence. If the evidence comes down, then we can talk about somebody getting fined. But that's ridiculous. Maybe love-hate. If you can believe Pelinka, after the Luka presser, the Hornets and the other two teams called the Lakers, but it is hard to trust Rob. Well, look, I mean, yeah, a lot of this stuff is this person said one thing and this person said the other thing. Yeah, Chris bringing up the point that I brought up earlier, that Ramona has ties, direct ties to the Lakers organization, and Shams is a Clutch client. All the reporting is going to have a Lakers slant. Yes. And maybe this is part of the experience thing with Jeff, is like, if you deal with the Lakers, you got to know that that's the thing. That if something goes wrong, it's not going to look great for you. Most likely. Let's see. Andrew, good afternoon, Doug. Just wondering if this has ever happened before in the NBA. I know in football, teams can agree a fee if the player fails a medical. So the answer is yes, Andrew. This has happened before. It's rare, but there are 5 or 6 instances over the past couple of decades where a player has failed a physical. Most recently in 2016, Domantas Mono-Eunice was sent to the Pistons, I believe, and failed a physical, and that trade got rescinded. The one involved the Charlotte Bobcats, kind of indirectly. Tyson Chandler was due to join the Oklahoma City Thunder, I believe in 2011, and that was the Harden, KD, Russell Westbrook, and they needed a big. And so Tyson Chandler moved to OKC, failed the physical, was later traded to the Bobcats, but then the Bobcats traded him to the Mavericks, and of course, he went on to help the Mavericks win that championship. Not the Bobcats. There's always a Bobcats tie. Bobcats like 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, 7 degrees of Charlotte Bobcats. Edward, bro, this hurts. I was looking forward to connect with LaMelo, but now the can't get healthy thing with Mark will never go away. Yeah, it's going to be tough. We just talked about labels there. It's really going to be tough to break that. There is a possibility, because all of this, none of this is certain. There's a possibility that Mark attacks this offseason and looks much better next season, dominates for the Charlotte Hornets next season, stays healthy for the next 5-10 years. Maybe they extend him to a deal that isn't what he thought he was going to get, what the Hornets thought that they were going to give him before the injuries. It's some reasonable deal for an injured player, or for a player with an injury history, I should say. And he dominates and he plays above his contract, and then there's some renegotiation down the line. All of that is within the realm of possibility. But his offseason, coming into next season is going to be super critical. Sam, Doug, are we cooked? No. Look, this Hornets team was always headed for the draft lottery. They could still score big in the draft lottery. You lose the opportunity to get a first-round pick. There will be future opportunities to continue to collect assets. I don't think the Hornets are don't think the Hornets are any more cooked than they were before this trade happened. Like this, to me, this doesn't, other than they've got this now interesting thing to deal with Nurkic being on the books. Although I don't know if that deal's official. Like I don't think either of those players have debuted for their team. So watch out for that. Ron saying Mark Williams played a total of 40-something games over 3 or so seasons. I think the Lakers overpaid and they recognize that. But yeah, you can't cancel a trade. If they rescind the trade, they're going to have to explain to the NBA why that trade is rescinded. The Hornets obviously aren't fighting it. The statement that they released very quickly, by the way, Hornets not really like a quick releaser on, like they understood the assignment here. They knew, hey, we got to get out here and say something on this. Let's see. Counts Creed. Lakers will get their center in the summer with expiring contracts and draft assets. Yeah, I mean, they'll have to now. They'll play, Jared Vanderbilt. Who else they got? Jackson Hayes. I mean, it's going to be tough for them to win this season, but they'll look towards next season. Chris saying the 10-year thing is such a joke. The 5 to 10-year thing, or just the idea that they were looking at 10. You think that's BS? All right. Dre Day. Funny thing is that Doug watches the games and totally saw that Mark was injured. Lakers didn't bother to look. I'm getting the sense that that the algorithm has served this up to a lot of Lakers fans. I put Lakers in the title, and I think some folks here from Lakerland are here. So shout out. We'll take the click. We appreciate it. Welcome. You can't have LaMelo. You still can't have LaMelo, Lakers fans. I know that's why you're really here. You think you're here about the trade, but you're really just trying to scope out and see if you can get LaMelo. Well, you can't. You can't have him. Okay? Especially after this. No way. There's no way. Rima, so does Mark have to change his number? Yeah, so after the trade, they go and get Elfrid Payton, and I guess Payton was going to wear the 5, and now Mark's coming back. Does he have to change his number? I don't know. Like, Elfrid Payton will pick another number. He's on a 10-day contract. Mark is actually under contract. He gets 5. Although I think it'd be funny if they wore 2.5. 2.5. Each of them wear 2.5. That would be funny. Split the difference. Florida Everything Lake Show. My God. Is there... Florida Everything Lake Show. Okay, mozzarella fellow. We don't want LaMelo. We want Brandon Miller. Get out of here! I'm gonna eject. That's it. I'm just spending the next portion of this stream not talking. I'm just gonna eject Lakers fans from this. Oh, this was definitely getting banned. You're out of here. Look at that. Talking junk. Boom. Deleted. All right. Now I'm deciding that it might be mostly Lakers fans on here. I might have to this is like a virus. I might have to just like pull the plug. It's like the AI, they say the AI is going to take over. And once it takes over, it will disable it's like Skynet, it disables the ability to unplug it. I'm going to have to unplug this stream before it gets completely taken over by Lakers fans. No, this was cool. I appreciate everyone that jumped on here. Subscribe to the show if you are truly interested in the Hornets and not in the Los Angeles Lakers. If you didn't just come here to gloat. And it's weird if you came here to gloat because now the Lakers don't have a center. Like, nobody wins in this scenario. Like, nobody wins. Like, Mark Williams doesn't win. The Hornets don't win. The Lakers don't win. That's why trades don't get canceled. They get amended sometimes when there's time to do that. They don't get canceled because everyone looks like a fool and no one gets what they wanted. The Lakers wanted something. The Hornets wanted something, and nobody gets what they want. Nobody gets to play with any toys. Everyone's punished. Everyone has to go sit in timeout now. And so, again, we're going to get some more info. I think you have to be discerning with the info that comes out, particularly from certain sources. And ultimately, you're going to have to decide, like you always do with these Hornet situations, what you want to believe and how much hope you want to continue to ingest. But we're sickos around here. We ingest hope despite all evidence to the contrary. I'm trying really hard not to overreact to all this and think, this is obviously a remarkable situation. Remarkable? But the Hornets are not cooked. They're just going to continue on and pivot from this and figure out this Nurkic situation for sure. Let's see. Any last comments from Hornets fans? Beginner saying Lakers fans born in Ohio are hilarious. Yes, very hilarious. or in Miami. Vapor saying I'm a huge Musa fan. I am too. I think that's going to be the most interesting thing is how this affects him. Do they move him to the 4? Maybe with Nurkic off the bench? Like, then you've got Nurkic who can shoot a little bit, not a lot, but he can shoot. And then you play Musa. Maybe that's Daniel. I'm pissed off if I'm Musa. I think Musa's, I don't know Musa. I don't think he's pissed off by this. I think he's grateful to have an opportunity to play for the Charlotte Hornets, play for any team. That's how he plays. He plays like he knows that there's no tomorrow. So, all right. I'm going to wrap this stream. I'm going to get back to my Super Bowl Sunday festivities. Appreciate everyone for jumping on here. Walker and maybe Nada on Monday. We're trying to get Nada scheduled. There was an internet issue on Friday. So we're really trying to get him scheduled to talk draft stuff, but obviously we will be consumed by this on Monday. I'll get Walker's takes as well. Everyhornetsboxscore.com. That's my Substack. I actually did a live show on there where I kind of gave my first thoughts, gathered my thoughts, and used a lot of the questions from that to guide this discussion. So if you want that kind of insidery first access to my depraved Hornets thoughts, everyhornetsboxscore.com is a good place for that. My very first thoughts went to Subtext, the Sicko Brigade. That's joinsubtext.com/Locked On Hornets. We're just providing you options for how you would like coverage of the Charlotte Hornets. We're trying to do it differently. We're trying to do it we do it every day on Locked On Hornets. That's the free thing. That's the base level. That's the thing that we do every day. And that will always be free. That's the sort of Locked On model, and we love it. But there are some ways, if you want a little bit more, to go to the buffet and pick out a few things. So we appreciate any and all support, including this live free show that we're doing here. Subscribe, tell a friend, like the videos, and until Monday, enjoy the Super Bowl Sunday, eat a lot of food, and we will see you on Monday. Go Hornets, go America, let's swarm Charlotte.